Hi there, I'm Sean the Modern Yeoman, and I've been thinking a lot lately about money and how easy it is to spend it. One of the things that attracted Holly and I to the homesteading lifestyle in the first place was the very apparent emphasis on producing versus consuming, on living off the land as much as possible and being very deliberate about spending and expenses. And while that's certainly a noble ethos and one that we strive for, I got to tell you, it is so easy to just hemorrhage money here on the homestead. You don't have to be a farmer to know that farm equipment is not cheap. Fencing, building materials, gardening supplies, tools galore, farm vehicles, animal structures, animal feed. I could keep going, but you get the point. $100 here and $1,000 over there, and before you know it, you're in really deep. So with all that in mind, Holly and I have made it a personal goal to do as much as we can with what we already have here on the homestead. Yes, I know that we bought that mower recently, but we want things like that to be the exception and not the rule. Now, I mentioned a few episodes ago how I've begun work on a mobile chicken tractor intended for a future round of meat chickens. I'm happy to say that so far I've sourced all of my materials from salvage wood that I have stored up in the hayloft of my barn. So far, I'm happy to say I haven't spent a penny. The real question is, can I keep it that way? Let's find out. So real quick refresher on where we stand with the chicken tractor. So far I've built the base, the bottom of the structure, using scrap wood, and it's 7 feet wide by 10 feet long. That's 70 square feet, which I think is plenty of room for 20 to 25 meat birds that are being moved every day. You'll note in the corners that I added some 4x4 beams for strength, as well as some mitered out 2x4s for a little extra support. Finally, I cut this third 10-foot long board to serve as the spine of the A-frame structure at the top of it. I think I mentioned in a previous episode how I want this to be an A-frame chicken tractor. Personally, I think this board is a little too heavy, so what I'm probably going to end up doing is ripping this down the middle just to take a bit of weight off and make this tractor a little less heavy and cumbersome. This actually reminds me that a quick disclaimer is necessary here. I do understand that this will be a very heavy structure and that I won't be able to pull it on my own without some sort of assistance. So, disclaimer is that I will be adding a wheel system eventually, as well as a very robust pulling harness. So yesterday I fiddled around with some junk pieces of wood in order to find the length that I'll need for each of the rafter beams, as well as the angles that I'll need to cut into them in order to facilitate the shape of the A-frame. So using that junk wood template as a guide, I determined that each of the rafter beams needs to be 6 foot 7 inches long, and ideally I'd like a minimum of 4 on each side of the structure. So right now my job is just to go see if I have enough lumber to do this. Okay, so I found a 2x4 that's definitely long enough. I'd say this thing's at least 7.5 feet tall, long. And so what I'm thinking I might be able to do is just rip this thing in half, and I should be able to get 2 beams from this one piece of 2x4. So 2 down. Two more long 2x4s. That makes 6. So after searching for a while, I was only able to find one more piece of wood that I felt was sufficiently strong enough to serve as a rafter. It's actually the same type of wood that my quote-unquote junk piece of wood template was. So I'm gonna count this piece of wood that I found right here, as well as that junk piece of wood, the junk wood template, as my 7th and 8th rafters. So I think I'm good to go on that front. So now I need to start cutting. Okay, so I got all the cuts I needed to make and I cleaned up. Now I'm ready to put this thing together. Let's go. Bada boom.
Right there. You know, one thing is handy to have is a good old-fashioned yardstick.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's good. Okay, just 2 more. Okay, folks, so the shadows are beginning to grow a bit long, and so I think I'm going to call it for my first day of building the Modern Yeoman chicken tractor. As you can see, I made a couple of design modifications. I used all 4 rafters on each side like I intended to, but I grouped them up towards the front of the tractor, and the reason for that is because I wanted to set them each 2 feet apart to accommodate the standard height of hardware cloth rolls or chicken wire rolls, because I'll plan to have the hardware cloth or the chicken wire on the front of this chicken tractor and use either tarp or metal roof panels for the back end of the chicken tractor. I'll probably need at least 2 more rafter beams on the back end of the tractor, ideally 4, so 2 on each side, because there's just this big gap on the back end of it. So what that means is more wood scrounging. There's also going to be a couple more design modifications that I'm going to make. Obviously, I'm going to want to put cross bracing in on some of the rafters, and maybe some posts that will go across the lateral edge of the roof beams, just for extra stability and extra support. I'm also thinking about putting in metal corner braces, not hinges, but just braces on the corners to give just a little added extra support to these rafter beams. And eventually I'm going to build a door on the front of this, so that's probably going to require a couple more 1x1s, which I may need to break down and spend some money on this. I'm thinking I'll probably need to spend money on the wheels, if nothing else. But so far, where I'm at right now, I have spent nothing on what I've built so far. Everything that I've used, from the hardware and screws to the wood, all of the wood, has been completely free. So I'm pretty happy that I've been able to get this far in the skeleton of the chicken tractor without spending any money. Now, granted, it's still pretty early days on this project and it still has quite a bit of work left on it, but I'm going to be salvaging as much material as possible as I go forward and only spending money where I absolutely need to. Well, that's all I've got for today, but I will pick up again on this project here very soon. Hopefully I've inspired you to realize that no matter what your financial situation is, you can get a lot done if you're resourceful about it. Anyways, until next time, don't let money or lack of it hold you back.